The vast emptiness of space stretched before the Earthship, dauntless as it approached the meeting point. Inside the bridge, Lieutenant Jack Miller stood tall, his blue uniform neat and pressed for this historic moment. First contact with an alien civilization was no small thing. "Approaching coordinates now, sir," said Communications Officer Diane Perry, her fingers moving quickly across the glowing display. "The Varaxian vessel will arrive in 5 minutes." Captain Frank Adams nodded. "All senior staff to the meeting chamber. This is what we've trained for." Jack followed the captain through the gleaming hallways of the Dauntless. After years of searching the stars, humanity had finally found other intelligent life. The Varaxians had responded to their signals 3 months ago, and both sides had agreed to this face-to-face meeting. "Nervous, Lieutenant?" asked Dr. Susan Bennett as she fell into step beside him. Jack smiled. "A little. You?" "More curious than nervous," she replied. "Their messages suggested they breathe oxygen like us. I wonder what other similarities we'll find." The meeting chamber was a large room with a round table in the center. Windows along one wall showed the stars outside and the approaching alien ship. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Dauntless, with a strange spiral shape that seemed to bend the light around it. "Amazing engineering," whispered Jack. The ship's science officer, Linda Gray, was checking readings on her tablet. "Their hull contains materials we've never seen before. The density readings are off the charts." A soft chime announced that the alien ship had matched their position exactly. Captain Adams straightened his uniform. "Remember the protocols. No sudden movements, speak clearly and wait for translations." A beam of light appeared in the center of the room, and 3 tall figures materialized. Jack's eyes widened. The Varaxians were reptilian in appearance, with scaled skin in shades of green and blue. But what surprised him most was their gear. Each alien wore what looked like heavy armor covering every inch of their bodies. Their heads were enclosed in helmets with dark visors, and various devices were attached to their suits. The tallest Varaxian stepped forward, a blue light blinking on its helmet. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Zexval of the Varaxian Commonwealth. We extend peaceful intentions." The voice came through a translator device, slightly mechanical but clear. Captain Adams bowed slightly. "Ambassador, welcome aboard. The Dauntless. I am Captain Frank Adams, representing Earth and humanity. We are honored by your presence and also come in peace." The 3 Varaxians looked at each other, their helmets tilting in what seemed like confusion. The ambassador's translator blinked rapidly. "Captain Adams, our sensors detect dangerous levels of radiation and atmospheric toxins in this chamber. Why are your people not wearing protective gear?" The humans exchanged glances. Jack checked his own wrist device. All readings were normal for humans. "Ambassador," replied Captain Adams carefully, "our environment is safe for human biology. Our ship maintains Earth-standard conditions, which our scientists believed would be compatible with your needs based on our communications." The Varaxians huddled together, speaking quickly in their own language. After a moment, the ambassador turned back. "We must insist on scanning your environment with our own equipment before removing any protection." "Of course," said the captain. "Please proceed." One of the Varaxians pulled out a device and moved it slowly around the room. It emitted soft, beeping sounds. The aliens seemed increasingly agitated as they reviewed the results. Finally, the ambassador spoke again. "Your radiation levels are within our survival parameters, but barely. Your oxygen mixture contains elements our scientists had not anticipated. We will maintain minimal protection." With that, the 3 aliens reached up and removed their helmets, revealing scaled faces with large yellow eyes. Their nostrils flared as they took their first breaths of the ship's air. Jack noticed how they winced slightly, as if the air was uncomfortable but bearable. "Fascinating," whispered Dr. Bennett. "They find our normal environment harsh." Ambassador Zexval focused on the humans. "You stand before us without any protection. How is this possible?" Jack realized the aliens were genuinely concerned, even afraid for the humans. "This is our natural environment," explained Captain Adams. "Human bodies are adapted to these conditions. The Ambassador's scales changed color slightly, showing patches of purple. Your species evolved in these conditions, without external protection? Yes, said Dr. Bennett, stepping forward. I am the ship's medical officer. Human skin and organs have natural defenses against what we consider normal radiation levels. Our lungs filter the air we breathe. The Varaxians conferred again, their voices low and urgent. When they turned back, their posture had changed. Jack could sense new tension. We must document this unusual trait, said the ambassador. In our experience across 12 star systems, all intelligent species require significant protection from their environments. This is unprecedented. Jack watched as one of the Varaxians used a device to scan each human present. The alien's reactions grew more pronounced with each reading. Your internal temperature would kill most species, noted the ambassador. Your skin permits radiation exposure that would harm our cells, yet you show no distress. Different evolutionary paths, suggested Dr. Bennett. We find your adaptations equally impressive. The meeting continued for another hour, with both sides sharing basic information about their worlds and cultures. Jack noticed how the Varaxians kept their distance, occasionally adjusting settings on their remaining armor. They seemed both fascinated and disturbed by the humans' lack of protection. As the aliens prepared to return to their ship, Ambassador Zexaval made a final statement. We will report to the Galactic Alliance regarding this contact. Your species is unique in ways we had not anticipated. We request permission to send scientists to learn more about human physiology. We would welcome such an exchange, replied Captain Adams. We have much to learn from each other. After the Varaxians departed, Jack turned to Dr. Bennett. Did you see how they reacted to us? Like we were some kind of superhumans. Dr. Bennett nodded slowly. To them, maybe we are. I wonder what other surprises await us out there. Captain Adams gathered his crew. Send all data to Earth Command immediately. This changes everything we thought we knew about life in the galaxy, as Jack looked out at the alien ship. He couldn't help but smile. Humanity had just discovered they possessed something remarkable. Their ordinary human bodies were extraordinary by galactic standards. The sign on the airlock of the Varaxian ship suddenly made perfect sense. Armor required for everyone except humans, apparently. 3 weeks after first contact, the Dauntless had become a hub of scientific activity. Dr. Susan Bennett had converted half the medical bay into a research space where alien scientists could study human physiology. Today, she was hosting a delegation from the methane-breathing Moldarians. Please proceed when ready, Susan said to the lead researcher, a 6-limbed being named Kral, who moved with surprising grace despite the bulky environmental suit that covered his entire body. Kral approached Susan with a handheld scanner. This will measure your cellular activity. It is harmless, his translation device stated in a flat voice. Susan nodded and held still as the blue light washed over her arm. The other 4 Moldarian scientists huddled around a display, their suits making soft hissing sounds as they adjusted to keep the methane atmosphere inside. Remarkable, Kral said after studying the results. Your skin cells actively repair damage from radiation exposure that would kill our kind instantly. That's just how human bodies work, Susan explained. Our planet's sun emits radiation that our cells have evolved to handle. Lieutenant Jack Miller entered the medical bay, nodding to the alien researchers before approaching Susan. How's the science exchange going? Fascinating, Susan replied. Apparently, we're space monsters with incredible healing powers. Jack laughed. Captain wants you at the briefing in 10 minutes. The Varaxians are sending a diplomatic ship. After Jack left, Kral moved closer to Susan. Your epidermis is remarkably flexible yet durable, and your regenerative capabilities are concerning. Susan raised an eyebrow. Concerning? What takes most Alliance species gene therapy and mechanical assistance, your kind does naturally. You heal from injuries that would require extensive medical intervention for others. Susan considered this. So the armor most species wear isn't just for environmental protection, but for physical safety too? Of course, Kral replied. Most sentient species have evolved in very stable, protected, environments. You humans developed on a planet with extreme temperature variations, high gravity, intense radiation, and dangerous predators. It made you different. As Susan headed to the briefing room, she pondered these revelations. Humans had always thought of themselves as fragile compared to the harsh universe. Yet to these advanced alien species, humans were unnaturally tough. The briefing room was already full when Susan arrived. Captain Adams stood at the front with the ship's security chief, Greg Harrison. "Dr. Bennett, good. We can begin," said the captain. "As you know, the Viraxians have shared our data with the Galactic Alliance. We've been invited to send representatives to meet with the Alliance Council." Greg brought up a holographic display showing dozens of different alien spacecraft. "Intelligence from friendly species suggests not everyone is happy about our discovery. Some military factions view humans as potential threats." "Because we don't need armor?" asked Susan. "Exactly," replied Captain Adams. "Some species depend entirely on their technology. The idea of a naturally resilient species concerns them." Jack spoke up from his seat. "So our strongest asset is also our biggest problem." "In a way," the captain agreed. "But we've also gained allies. Several scientific and medical communities are fascinated by what we might contribute to galactic knowledge." The meeting continued as they planned for the upcoming diplomatic mission. Afterward, Susan and Jack walked toward the ship's observatory deck. "I never thought our boring human bodies would cause an interstellar incident," Jack said. Susan smiled. "Apparently, being normal is relative. I've been reviewing the medical data we've received from Alliance sources. Most species have specialized for specific environments, then used technology to compensate for their weaknesses. Humans are generalists. We adapted to survive in varying conditions without specializing." They reached the observatory, a room with a transparent ceiling showing the stars. Through the window, they could see the alien ships that had gathered around the Dauntless. Some were beautiful, with flowing designs that seemed impossible by Earth engineering standards. Others were practical and blocky, clearly built for function over form. "Look at that." Jack pointed to a small ship approaching. Unlike the others, this one had no visible life support systems or protective shielding. "The HFY delegation. They live in water environments but can survive in our atmosphere for short periods. The HFY were fish-like beings with translucent skin. When they boarded the Dauntless later that day, Susan was surprised to see them wearing only thin bodysuits rather than the heavy armor of other species. "We understand your situation," the HFY ambassador told Captain Adams. "Our people also face prejudice for our adaptability. While we require water to thrive, we can endure air environments better than most Alliance species. You could be valuable allies," the captain responded. The HFY ambassador's large eyes blinked slowly. "The Alliance fears what it does not understand. Some see your natural resilience as an unfair advantage. Others worry about what would happen if humans decided to conquer rather than cooperate." "That's not our intention," insisted Captain Adams. "Intentions change with time and opportunity," replied the ambassador. "History has shown this across many worlds." After the HFY left, more delegations arrived. Some were curious, others cautious. A few were openly hostile, refusing to leave their ships and demanding that humans wear containment suits during communications for the safety of all parties. 1 month after first contact, the Dauntless received a formal invitation to the Galactic Alliance headquarters. Captain Adams selected a small team to represent Earth, himself, Dr. Bennett, Lieutenant Miller, and 2 other senior officers. The night before their departure, Jack found Susan in the mess hall staring at her coffee. "Worried about tomorrow?" he asked, sitting across from her. "A little," she admitted. "We're about to meet an alliance of over 50 different species, and half of them think we're dangerous just because we can breathe without help." Jack smiled. "Maybe we are dangerous. Not because we want to hurt anyone, but because we represent change. These species have built their society around their shared limitations. We don't fit their rules. So what do? We show them that being different doesn't mean being a threat," Jack replied. "We demonstrate that human resilience can benefit everyone." The next morning, as they boarded the Alliance transport vessel, Captain Adams gathered his team for final instructions. Remember that we represent not just ourselves but all of humanity. Our goal is to establish peaceful relations and secure Earth's place in the galactic community. As the transport pulled away from the Dauntless, Susan watched her ship grow smaller. The vast Alliance cruiser that would take them to headquarters dwarfed their Earth vessel. The future of human-alien relations was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same now that humans had arrived. And it all started because humans could do something as simple as breathe without armor. The Alliance headquarters was a massive space station that orbited a neutral star. As their transport ship approached, Captain Adams and his team stared in wonder at the incredible structure. It was shaped like a wheel with 12 spokes, each representing one of the founding species of the Galactic Alliance. "It's beautiful," breathed Susan as they drew closer. The station gleamed with lights of every color, and ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like fish in a pond. "And intimidating," added Jack. The size of the station made the Dauntless look like a toy by comparison. Their transport docked at one of the outer rings. When the doors opened, they were greeted by a delegation of various aliens. Leading them was a tall, elegant being with 4 arms and silvery skin that reflected the light. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Council Aide Vela," the being said through a translator device. "I will escort you to your quarters and brief you on tomorrow's council meeting." As they walked through the station, the humans couldn't help but stare. The main corridor was filled with aliens of every description. Some floated in bubbles of liquid. Others crawled along the walls, and many walked on varying numbers of legs. Most wore some form of protective gear, though the styles ranged from full body armor to simple breathing masks. All these different species living together, marveled Susan. "How do you accommodate so many different biological needs?" Vela gestured to the walls. "The station is divided into environmental zones. Some areas are kept at specific temperatures, others have special atmospheric compositions. The main corridors are designed to be tolerable for most species with minimal protection." Jack noticed that many aliens stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. Some pointed and whispered to each other. "You are something of a curiosity," explained Vela, noticing his discomfort. "Word has spread about the unarmored species. Their quarters were comfortable by human standards. A bit warm, perhaps, but otherwise normal." Vela provided them with information tablets containing details about the council and meeting protocols. "The council session begins at the equivalent of your Earth time, 0900 hours, Vela said. "There are 27 council members representing all Alliance species. You will present your case for Earth's admission to the Alliance, after which there will be questions and discussions." After Vela left, Captain Adams gathered his team. "Get some rest. Tomorrow will be challenging. We need to make a good impression." The next morning, they were escorted to the council chamber, a vast circular room with tiered seating. The council members sat in a semicircle on elevated platforms, each with environmental controls adjusted to their needs. In the center was a speaking platform where Captain Adams would present Earth's case. As they entered, Jack leaned close to Susan. "The one with the red armor must be Kravax," he whispered. "The briefing said he's the High Commander of the Saurian Collective. Not a fan of humans, apparently." Susan nodded, noting the reptilian alien's aggressive posture. His armor was more elaborate than necessary, decorated with what looked like military symbols. An elderly alien with translucent skin and glowing blue eyes banged a ceremonial staff on the floor. "The council recognizes Captain Frank Adams of Earth. Step forward and present your petition for Alliance membership." Captain Adams walked confidently to the center platform. For the next 30 minutes, he outlined Earth's history, culture, and technological capabilities. He emphasized humanity's desire for peaceful cooperation and knowledge exchange. When he finished, the questions began. Most were routine inquiries about Earth's resources, population, and governance, but then Kravax rose from his seat. "The Saurian Collective has concerns about admitting humans to the Alliance," his translator boomed. "Their natural resilience, presents an unprecedented strategic imbalance. No species should naturally possess such advantages. Captain Adams remained calm. High Commander, we view our physiology not as a weapon but as a potential asset to the Alliance. Human medical research could benefit many species. Kravax's scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice grew sharper. Pretty words. Yet your kind could survive environments fatal to most Council members without technology. This creates an inherent imbalance of power. The blue-eyed elder raised a hand. What would satisfy the collective's concerns, Commander? Genetic modification, Kravax replied without hesitation. The humans must be altered to require similar protections as other Alliance species. Equality through science. Gasps and murmurs filled the council chamber. Susan stepped forward, unable to contain herself. That would be equivalent to asking your people to remove their natural scales, she said. Our biology is not a threat, it's simply different. Ambassador Karen Wilcox, who had joined them from Earth's diplomatic corps, moved to stand beside Captain Adams. We come in peace, seeking knowledge exchange and mutual prosperity. Our physiological differences shouldn't be cause for alarm. Slender alien with moth-like features spoke next. I must agree with the human diplomat. Diversity has always been the Alliance's strength. We should study these differences, not fear them. The debate grew heated. Some council members supported Earth's admission, while others backed Kravax's position. The humans watched nervously as their fate was argued by beings from across the galaxy. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed. On walls and consoles. Environmental system failure in Section 4, announced an automated voice. Temperature rising. Radiation shielding compromised. Emergency protocols activated. Panic erupted among the council members. Many rushed toward shelter areas, their protective gear whirring as it adjusted to the changing conditions. Our quarters are in Section 4, Susan said to Jack. Captain Adams turned to his team. Let's help evacuate anyone who needs assistance. While most aliens hurried to emergency shelters, the human team moved against the flow, helping those struggling with heavy armor or breathing equipment. Jack lifted a small, tentacled being whose locomotion device had failed. Susan guided a group of methane breathers toward their designated safe zone. Karen and Captain Adams helped council members who were having trouble with malfunctioning protective gear. Throughout the crisis, the humans showed no signs of distress despite the rising heat and radiation levels that sent aliens scrambling for safety. 3 hours later, when the systems were repaired and the council reconvened, the mood had changed. The blue-eyed elder, whom they now knew was Eldar Moxtalan of the ancient Zythian conclave, addressed the chamber. Today we witnessed something remarkable, the Eldar said. When danger threatened, the humans could have retreated to safety. Instead, they remained to assist others who were more vulnerable. Perhaps these differences are not to be feared, but valued. Even Kravax seemed subdued. The collective acknowledges their actions were honorable. After more discussion, the council voted. The decision was announced by Eldar Moxtalan. Earth is granted probationary membership in the Galactic Alliance. Human representatives will serve on mixed-species crews throughout Alliance space, demonstrating their value and trustworthiness. A review will occur in 1 Earth year. As they left the council chamber, Jack turned to Susan with a smile. Not bad for our first day in galactic politics, Susan nodded. They still don't fully trust us, but it's a start. Captain Adams gathered his team. This is just the beginning. Now we need to prove that humans aren't just tough. We're good allies too. What none of them realized was that the environmental system failure had not been an accident. Somewhere on the station, hidden eyes had been watching, assessing how the humans would react when faced with a crisis they could easily escape while others could not. The test was complete, and the results were exactly what they had hoped for. 6 months after Earth joined the Galactic Alliance on probationary status, human crew members served on ships and stations throughout Alliance space. Their natural resilience made them valuable for tasks that would be dangerous or impossible for armor-dependent species. Lieutenant Jack Miller had been assigned to the Alliance cruiser Boundless, a massive vessel with a crew representing 12 different species. He worked in security, often handling the most hazardous situations. "Lieutenant Miller to the bridge," came the captain's voice over the ship's comm system. Jack made his way through the ship's corridors. By now he was used to the stares from alien crew members. Some looked at him with respect, others with unease. Few had gotten completely comfortable with seeing an unarmored human walking freely in environments they considered dangerous. On the bridge, Captain Vexra, a tall Varaxian with silver-green scales, nodded as Jack entered. Unlike their first meeting months ago, the captain now wore minimal protective gear when around humans. "We've received a distress call from Epsilon 6, Vexra said. "The mining colony has suffered catastrophic damage from an asteroid impact. We are the closest ship with rescue capabilities." Jack studied the data on the main screen. Epsilon 6 was a frontier mining colony that extracted rare minerals from an unstable asteroid belt. It was considered a dangerous posting. But the minerals were vital for advanced technology throughout the Alliance. "Estimated casualties?" asked Jack. The science officer, a six-limbed Muldarian named Zik, looked up from his console. "Unknown. Communication is limited, but life support is failing in multiple sections and radiation levels are dangerously high in others." "We'll arrive in 4 hours," said Captain Vexra. "Lieutenant Miller, assemble a human rescue team. You will lead the operation in the compromised sections where our environmental suits would be too cumbersome." "Yes, Captain," Jack replied. The Boundless had 20 human crew members. Jack gathered them in the shuttle bay to brief them on the situation. "This is exactly why we're here," he told them. "To help in situations where our natural abilities give us an advantage. The colonists are trapped in sections with high radiation, extreme temperatures, and toxic fumes. Our job is to get them out while the Alliance engineers work to restore the systems." Among the human crew was Lieutenant Amy Porter, a tall woman with short brown hair who specialized in emergency operations. "What about protective gear for the colonists we rescue?" she asked. "Each rescue team will carry portable shields," Jack explained. "Not as good as full armor, but enough to protect the colonists during evacuation." As the Boundless approached Epsilon 6, they could see the damage. A large section of the colony's outer ring was torn open, and debris floated in space around it. Emergency force fields contained some areas, but others were completely exposed to the vacuum. Captain Vexra addressed the entire crew before the mission. "This colony has over 3,000 residents from 15 different Alliance species. Many of them are trapped in conditions that would kill most rescuers. Our human teammates will enter the most dangerous areas, but they will need our support from safer zones." The rescue operation began immediately. Jack led one team while Amy led another. They entered the colony through airlocks that still functioned, then made their way to the damaged sections. The conditions were worse than expected. Heat from damaged power systems made some corridors feel like ovens. Radiation levels in other areas were high enough to make the sensors on their equipment flash warnings, yet the humans pushed forward, their bodies handling conditions that would quickly kill their alien colleagues. Jack's team found a group of Varaxian miners trapped behind a collapsed doorway. Their armor was keeping them alive, but the systems were running out of power. "Stand back," Jack called to them through the gap. He and two other humans pushed against the warped metal until it gave way enough for the Varaxians to squeeze through. "You have no protective gear," one of the miners said in disbelief as Jack helped him to his feet. "We don't need it," Jack replied simply. "Can you walk? We need to move quickly." Across the colony, Amy's team was dealing with a section where the life support had completely failed. The air was thin and filled with toxic fumes from damaged equipment. They found a nursery where young aliens were sheltered in emergency bubbles that were quickly losing power. "We need to get them to the medical shuttle," Amy said, lifting two of the bubble-enclosed infants. Her team gathered the others, moving carefully despite the painful burning in their lungs from the toxic air. Hour after hour, the human teams pushed deeper into the damaged colony, finding survivors where other rescuers couldn't go. They worked until their muscles ached and their skin was red from radiation exposure, yet they continued. In the colony's central control room, Chief Engineer Alan Russo, another human from the Boundless, worked frantically with Alliance engineers to restore critical systems. Suddenly alarms blared throughout the station. "The reactor is going critical," shouted a Zythian engineer, his transparent hands moving rapidly over the controls. "The cooling system is failing. If it melts down, it will destroy the entire colony." The Zythian turned to Alan, his voice desperate. "The manual override is in a chamber flooded with radiation. Even in our best suits, we couldn't survive long enough to complete the procedure." Alan looked at the schematics. "I'll do it. The radiation levels in that chamber would kill even a human within minutes," protested the engineer. "Then I'll work. Fast," Alan replied. Before anyone could stop him, Alan rushed to the reactor control room. The door slid open, revealing a space bathed in blue light from the failing reactor core. Warning symbols flashed on every surface. Alan forced himself to ignore the burning sensation on his skin as he moved to the manual controls. His training took over as he began the complex sequence to vent the plasma buildup and stabilize the core. His vision began to blur and his hands shook from the radiation poisoning his body, but he kept working, step by step, until the final sequence was entered. The reactor's angry glow dimmed as emergency systems engaged, venting the dangerous plasma into space through specialized channels. Alan collapsed as the door opened behind him. The last thing he saw was the surprised faces of the rescue team in their heavy radiation suits, shocked that he was still alive. When he woke in the medical bay of the Boundless 3 days later, Jack and Amy were beside his bed. "You crazy hero," Amy said with a smile. "The doctors weren't sure you'd make it." Alan tried to sit up, wincing at the pain. His skin was healing from severe radiation burns. "The colony, saved," Jack answered. "All because you did something no one else could do." Captain Vexra entered the medical bay, accompanied by an imposing figure in ornate armor, Commander Vikax of the Varaxian High Command, one of the officials who had initially opposed humanity's membership in the Alliance. "Chief, Engineer Russo," said Commander Vikax, his voice solemn. "The Varaxian High Command has dispatched our most advanced medical technology to aid in your recovery. What you did at Epsilon 6, it has changed many minds." "I just did my job," Alan replied weakly. "No," said Vikax. "You did what none of us could do. We have misjudged. What we perceived as a threat may be the Alliance's greatest asset." As news of the rescue spread throughout Alliance space, the story of the humans who braved conditions that would kill other species became a symbol of what the Alliance could achieve through diversity. The sign at the entrance to Epsilon 6 was modified with a new addition that made Jack smile when he saw it. "Armor required, unless you're a human." 2 years after the Epsilon 6 incident, the Galactic Alliance held a special ceremony at its headquarters. Representatives from all member species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall to witness a historic announcement. Among them stood Captain Amy Porter, promoted after her heroic actions during the rescue mission, and Alan Russo, fully recovered and now serving as chief engineer on the Alliance flagship. The massive hall buzzed with excitement. Banners representing all Alliance species hung from the high ceiling, including the newest one, Earth's blue and green flag with its distinctive moon and stars. Eldar Moxtalon of the Zythian Conclave, now serving as the Alliance High Elder, raised his translucent hands for silence. Unlike most aliens, he wore only a thin environmental suit rather than full armor, one of many changes that had occurred since humans joined the Alliance. "Today marks a special moment in our shared history," the Elder's voice echoed through the hall. "The Alliance Research Division has completed its work on Project Resilience. Director Kral will present their findings." Amy smiled as she recognized the 6-limbed Muldarian scientist who had once examined Dr. Bennett on the Dauntless. Kral's environmental suit was notably smaller and more flexible than the bulky protection he had worn 2 years ago. "Honored representatives," Kral began, his translator conveying excitement in his voice. "For generations, we have sought to overcome our biological limitations through technology. We built increasingly complex armor and environmental systems to survive in conditions beyond our natural tolerance." A large holographic display activated behind him, showing various alien species alongside diagrams of their protective gear. The Arrival of humans changed our perspective, Krell continued. In humans, we witnessed evolution taking a different path, internal resilience rather than external protection. Their biology inspired us to rethink our approach. The hologram shifted to show a new type of protective suit, sleek and flexible compared to traditional armor. Today we unveil adaptive lightweight armor inspired by human skin, Krell announced. Using biomimetic technology, these new systems provide greater mobility and resilience without sacrificing protection. The outer layer adapts to environmental conditions much like human skin responds to temperature and radiation. Murmurs of approval spread through the audience as demonstration videos showed aliens moving easily in the new suits, performing tasks that would have been impossible in their old armor. But this is more than a technological breakthrough, Krell said. It represents a new philosophy for the Alliance, learning from our biological differences rather than fearing them. Alan leaned toward Amy and whispered, "Not bad for a species. They wanted to modify 2 years ago." The elder spoke again, his voice solemn. "The Council has completed its review of Earth's probationary status. Captain Porter and Engineer Russo, please step forward as representatives of humanity." Amy and Alan walked to the center of the hall, standing tall before the assembled delegates. Amy noticed that Commander Vikax of the Varaxian High Command had taken a position near the elder, a surprising show of support from a former critic. "When humans first petitioned to join our community," said the elder, "many feared the natural advantages they possessed. Some viewed these differences as threats to the balance we had established." He gestured to the various delegates. "But over these 2 years, human crews have served alongside our own throughout Alliance space. They have used their unique abilities not for dominance, but for assistance. They have saved countless lives by entering environments where our own people would perish." The elder turned to face Amy and Alan directly. "The Council has voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership in the Galactic Alliance, with all rights and privileges therein." Applause erupted throughout the hall. Amy felt a surge of pride. Humanity had proven itself not through force, but through service. Commander Vikax stepped forward, his ornate armor gleaming in the hall's lights. "The Varaxian Collective wishes to present a gift to honor this occasion." At his signal, a group of Varaxian officers entered, carrying a large display case. Inside was a simple spacesuit of human design, but crafted from Varaxian metals with Alliance symbols. "This ceremonial armor represents our recognition of humanity's choice," Vikax explained. "Though you do not require our protection, we offer it as a symbol of respect and unity. Your natural resilience does not separate us. It reminds us of the strength we find in our differences." After the ceremony, a reception was held in the station's main garden dome. Aliens and humans mingled freely, many of the aliens wearing the new lightweight protective systems inspired by human biology. Amy found herself speaking with a young Varaxian diplomat who wore minimal protective gear. "Your people have changed, so much in how you view us," Amy observed. The diplomat nodded. "My generation is especially grateful. The new protective systems give us freedoms our parents never knew. Before we were prisoners of our own armor. Now we can feel the world around us almost as you do." Across the room, Alan spoke with Krell about future research projects. "Our scientists are still studying why humans evolved such remarkable resilience," Krell said. "The working theory is that Earth's unusually harsh and varied conditions forged a species uniquely adapted to survive whatever the universe might throw at them." Alan smiled. "It's ironic. All our lives, we humans thought we were fragile, compared to the universe. We never realized our ordinary bodies would be considered extraordinary out here." As the celebration continued, Ambassador Karen Wilcox, now serving on the Alliance High Council, joined Amy and Alan at a viewing window overlooking the station's docking bays. Ships of all designs moved gracefully through space, many of them now carrying mixed crews of humans and aliens. "When we first came seeking allies, we found ourselves regarded as oddities, then threats, and finally as partners," Karen said, watching the ships. "Our differences have become our greatest contribution." Below them, a newly commissioned Alliance vessel prepared for departure. Its mission, to explore regions of space previously considered too dangerous for conventional crews. The ship's name was proudly displayed on its hull. Resilience. A new regulation had been formally adopted across Alliance space. The once suspicious sign, Armor Required, now carried a simple addendum that made Amy smile whenever she saw it. Unless you're a human. As ships carrying mixed human-alien crews ventured into unexplored regions, the Galactic Alliance continued studying the remarkable species that had changed their understanding of resilience. Human medical researchers worked alongside alien scientists, sharing knowledge that benefited all species. The universe remained a dangerous place, filled with challenges and threats to overcome. But now the Alliance faced it with a new perspective. Sometimes the greatest strength came not from armor, but from what lay beneath it. And humans, once seen as strangely vulnerable without their technological protection, had proven that being different wasn't a weakness after all. It was simply another kind of strength.